Hello everyone, Eric Watson here, freelance writer, player of games, writer, boards, recorder videos, and tabletop role-playing aficionado. Welcome to This Week in D&D, where I break down the news surrounding Dungeons & Dragons, 5th edition, and the tabletop RPG industry. This is the week of July 31st. Oh man, summer is almost over. It's sad. I've been doing like back-to-school shopping and camps, like school-related camps for kiddos, and I talked to another parent when I was doing one of the like orientation things, and I was like, "I'm so sad about summer," and the parent's like, "I'm not." Like, oh, okay. I enjoy it. But we've got some news in D&D to talk about a little bit of news. If you recall, last week, I think it was last week we talked about the new like head of D&D franchise model, whatever, Dan Ayub, and he has now posted an official blurb thing onto the D&D Beyond website. Welcome back to the table, D&D's new direction. It's not really like a huge thing here, but it's got some interesting stuff. In fact, they even say like we've stumbled before. I'm going to skip ahead down to this. System that belongs to the new core rulebooks were shaped by 10 years community play feedback and love for 5th edition. The upgrade doesn't replace the previous rules, it enhances them. It makes the beloved system more player-friendly, better to create content for and evolve rather than replace the 5th edition books you already own. I mean, that's... I don't know. Like, I think they do kind of replace the books that you already own. In my humble opinion, that's kind of the whole point of having the new updated rules is because they replace the old ones, right? Stronger SRD. We are updating the system reference document on a rolling basis. We're committed to long-term access and support of the resource through the errata process. This ensures in other words, patching. The SRD will remain up to date with the latest standards and mechanics for creators for use in their works. Run your D&D Beyond content on maps, no subscription required, starting September 16th. With the release of Heroes of the Borderlands, which is the new starter set, all D&D Beyond registered users can run games on the map's virtual tabletop. This is D&D Beyond, no subscription required. The core experience will be made available to everyone. If you own a map, module, or adventure on D&D Beyond, you can use it on maps and invite your friends to play, period. So I'm not super familiar with the D&D Beyond ecosystem and how their own virtual tabletop maps thing operates. But apparently it was gated so that only, I guess, paid subscribers could utilize it. And now it sounds like, starting in September 16th, so about 2 months from now. Well, like 6 weeks. It looks like all you have to do is have an account on D&D Beyond, which all of us can do pretty easily. And all of us probably have one because they do release free shit on there. You might as well have an account. Master tier subscription will unlock more customizability for DMs who need it. You'll be able to upload homebrew maps, custom tokens, and access exciting tools built just for you. So you will still need the subscription if you want to actually upload your own stuff. So that is still gating it off compared to something like Roll20, where literally anybody can get an account on Roll20 and then just put whatever the hell they want on to, maps and tokens and whatever else. The subscriptions just kind of unlock some additional features like dynamic lighting, I believe. And then, of course, you can buy the actual modules to have everything already done for you. Is that a step in the right direction? Probably. But again, I'm not super familiar with how that worked. But maybe I need to be now that it's free to use. The problem is I don't know if I actually own any content. I mean, I probably do. I do own a lot of like free. I haven't purchased anything specifically on D&D Beyond because again, I've got everything through Roll20, but I do have, like, whenever they release those free adventures or modules. I mean, and you've seen me review some of those here on the channel, so maybe I can just check that out and see what their maps thing look like. If any of you have any experience using, do they just call it maps? I know at one point they were trying to make their own, like, really fancy, like, 3D virtual tabletop system, and I think they kind of just stopped. That was earlier this year, I believe. Project Single. We're laying the groundwork for a new initiative that will bring community voices directly into the room. Our goal is to create a rotating advisory group made up of creators, publishers, educators, and fans who can help us shape future tools, policies, and content in a real, ongoing way. Rotating advisory group. We're still finalizing the structure and process, but our intention is clear. This isn't a one-time survey or a PR move. It's about building lasting collaboration with the people who make D&D what it is. More details to come. We're also developing a creator spotlighting program that will highlight third-party creators across our official channels. If you're making something incredible, the world should see it. Okay. So maybe is that going to highlight like stuff on DM's Guild? Because that's probably the place you're going to find third-party creations that officially use the D&D IP. At D&D, we understand the community is a beating heart of the game we all love. We want to see it thrive so more people can experience adventure with their friends and family. We've stumbled before. We've learned from it. And now we're committed to clearer communication, more transparency, consistent support for players, creators, and publishers. What do we think about that? Committed to clearer communication, more transparency, and consistent support. I mean, that all sounds good. A rotating advisory group of creators, publishers, educators, and fans. So a focus group that they can have on that will give them feedback so that they don't shit the bed as hard as they did. Was it last year with the OGL thing? I literally can't remember. I think it was last year. I think. I feel like we've just been in this huge, like, every year is like 10 years thing. But, I mean, maybe that's a step in the right direction. Like, this guy comes on and says, like, look, things have been really bad. You know, I mean, 5th edition has been better than ever, but clearly the brand has taken some justifiable lumps because of their decisions for a lot of cases. So, I mean, all that sounds good, but it's kind of like, okay, let's see what it looks like, I guess is my opinion. Like, yeah, that all sounds great, but, you know, anybody can put out good, like, you know, PR corporate speak and pledge to do better, but we'll see if you actually do better. But sure, like, they're at least acknowledging sort of the problems, and advisory group hopefully could be good. Like, notice how they're really trying not to say, like, I don't know, what's the, like, I'm trying to think of the term, with sensitivity, what is it called when you have, like, somebody who's designed to, like, call out your like explicit biases, sensitivity person, watchdog, something. I can't think of. There's like a terminology for that that I'm sure would drive the right crazy. So they're trying not to say something like that, basically, where we don't end up with some unfortunate situations that have been in there for decades of D&D that they're trying to kind of modernize. Just called a rotating advisory group, which is the way to go about it. Probably just get a bunch of people in there from a diverse. Oh, notice I'm not trying to use the words diverse either. I don't want to use that. You'll get flagged by the U.S. government. Who can help shape future tools, policies, and content in a real, ongoing way. So yeah, you could, if I was a right-wing influencer, I would be picking that apart, going, "Oh shit, this is how they're gonna destroy it." But they're trying very carefully not to use any of those terms. The new direction for D&D is already underway. We're here to earn your trust, not ask for it. Building a game that honors the past, listens in the present, and opens new doors for the future together. We're investing long-term in this game, this community, and the stories we collectively tell. That means better digital tools, more open development, and more content built alongside players. See you at the table. So yeah, that all sounds great. Like, I mean, I have, those are my notes where it's like, all right, well, bet. let's see how well it ends up, basically. But sure, this all sounds like it's going in a good direction. Probably out of all the things I'm most interested in is checking out, like, what the hell does their maps feature look like? Is it worth doing over something like Roll20, even though it's still kind of gated a little bit? So moving on to our first actual topic, I just wanted to cover that because it seemed like that was some important little news post to cover, and maybe Dan will start being more of the official voice from the entire D&D franchise. I didn't know how involved he's going to be in terms of like giving out these kind of messages. So I guess we'll see. Cthulhu by Torchlight, which kind of surprised everyone because obviously Call of Cthulhu is a major RPG system that uses its own system where you're playing as like 1920s investigators, and there's a whole madness element and everything. This is it is by Chaosium, which handles a lot of the Cthulhu. I'm 99% sure Cthulhu is in the public domain. I think Chaosium just has a lot of they do the Call of Cthulhu thing, so I guess they're just they already do a lot of it. But Cthulhu by Torchlight is not the Call of Cthulhu system. It just puts the Cthulhu theme into D&D 5th edition. So this is a 5e source book, whatever. I guess player book also. Maybe mostly a player book. If you want to use the Cthulhu mythos in your D&D 5e game. It is out now, I guess. Did they just surprise launch this? Did we know about this? I guess it's out now. It doesn't say it's pre-order. Yeah, so I guess it's just out. Cthulhu by Torchlight. Fuck, is this on Roll20? And it did say it was exclusive to D&D Beyond. Yeah, D&D Beyond exclusive, so I don't know. Playable with the core rules. D&D 5th edition includes 23 monsters, 25 spells, 12 subclasses, which is one new subclass for each class, 5 feats, 5 magic items, 2 items, and a partridge in a pear tree background. Cthulhu adds a new subclass, each the character classes, 24 mythos-themed spells. Okay, I just read all that. Over 20 horde monsters of the Cthulhu mythos. Rules for passions and dreadful insights. Amplify role-playing by putting mechanics behind your character's personality, while the skill challenge rules provide a framework for investigation, interaction, and other non-combat encounters. Are we actually getting official skill challenge rules not seen since 4th edition? That could be interesting for any game. Cosmic horror, confront the gods of Cthulhu mythos. Got horrid monsters from hideous rat things to gods such as Dagon. Dreadful tomes, skill challenges, deeper role-playing. So is there a video or something about this? Artwork's pretty good. Cthulhu Mythos invades 5th edition. Cthulhu by Torchlight brings deep ones, dimensional shamblers, and even great Cthulhu himself to your campaigns. Players be ready for this invasion, and subclasses, feats, and spells powerful enough to stop even the hungriest Shoggoth. Ready to unleash cosmic horror. And then they just talk about all the new things I just mentioned. Includes everything you need to run an adventure inspired by Cthulhu mythos, or make them a foundation of the entire campaign. So I don't think there's an adventure here. It looks like it's mainly player focused. Which, man, this is the problem with 5th edition. Don't get me wrong. Obviously, I love it. We've been doing it for 10 years. But every single fucking thing is player focused. Come on, man. DMs need some help. Unleash the Apocalypse Cleric. That sounds fantastic. The Cosmic Balance Monk. Warlock of the Exalted Assembly of the Feline Court. Yes, I want a cat as a patron. Fill your dungeons with Shoggoths, Yithians, and even a mythos deities such as Dagon. All right, and there was another, and that's $29.99 on D&D, and they said it's a D&D Beyond exclusive, so I don't know if you can actually find it anywhere else. That's kind of what exclusive means. There's a post that goes in a little bit more about it. 12 Eldritch subclasses, including, I already looked at that one, Hungering Dark Sorcerer, Spell-Scorned Barbarian, Grim New Origins, like the Mythos Investigator, Passion system which encourages bold, reckless choices in pursuit of personal beliefs. That's interesting. Bold, reckless choices in pursuit of personal beliefs. Okay, so you have some kind of personal agenda system that you have to satisfy. Dreadful Insights, a mechanic for tracking corruption and obsession as you confront the mythos. That's certainly important. They're not calling it madness, though. They really want to get away from the term madness, I guess. I never thought that was a problematic term, but maybe I'm the problem. Dreadful Insight. I do like the way Dreadful Insight sounds, though. Dozens of eldritch monsters, including iconic foes like Great Cthulhu and Dagon. Wait, do we get a stat block for Cthulhu? That seems kind of ridiculous. I didn't think that Cthulhu was somebody you should fight. It's more like an eldritch horror, a cosmic horror. Full suite of character options. Subclasses. Before you're here, you were a witness. The new Mythos investigator background lets you play as someone who survived an encounter with the Mythos and chosen to continue to fight against it. Get the new fingerprint kit. Start with an origin feat and carry a past you can never quite forget. I fought, I lived, I hid from the terror, I opened the gate. That's cool. It'd be like Stranger Things 11. I pierced the illusion, I survived to tell the tale. Yeah, that's neat. Spells, Breath of the Deep, Body Warping of Gorgoth. Dungeon Masters, take the plunge. Yeah, what does the DMs get? A couple sentences? Arms Dungeon Masters with the tools to craft creeping mysteries, tangled investigations, and apocalyptic rituals that must be stopped before it's too late. They find advice on how to build Mythos adventures and how you can incorporate skill checks to immerse your players in a racetrack cult before they complete their final rite or uncover clues while the clock ticks down. The eldritch knowledge of this tome at your disposal, you'll learn to design adventures where the wrong question asked or a trip down a dark alley might be a hero's last act. I haven't met great. Yeah, Cthulhu's a CR30 world-ending threat. I don't think... Isn't like the Tarrasque a CR30? I always figured Cthulhu would be like a cut above like any other monster. Like it's not even battleable. Like this is I guess you can fight gods in D&D. I don't know. I feel like Cthulhu is not something you actually battle. Cthulhu is like something like you try to seal away, and that's like the only chance you have. Complete with psychic devastation, the ability to resurrect itself, and an aura that shreds sanity. Alright, well, it does sound pretty strong, I guess. I guess. People want to get high enough level to fight Cthulhu. So yeah, I'm not confident there's enough DM tools in there to craft a campaign about a Cthulhu threat. But that could be, I mean, the nice thing is you could take a lot of these player-focused stuff and just incorporate that into your own D&D campaign that just involves whatever Eldritch Horror you want, because there's already some Eldritch Horror stuff going on in D&D 5e and some of the monsters and things. So, again, for players, it sounds great. For DMs, I just don't know if there's enough here to be able to craft a adventure around that. And I'm also not sure you would be able to take, like, other Cthulhu stuff and craft that into a D&D 5e campaign, because if, again, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like a lot of the Cthulhu stuff is not like hack and slash dungeon crawls. It's like more investigation horror shit going on, which you could maybe do that with D&D, but if you're not playing like some kind of a dungeon battle stuff, I think that there's just better other game systems that would fit that a little better. There is, this is not the first Cthulhu thing for 5e, though, to be fair. I think there was at least one other, which I didn't ever review, but that specifically had, like, Cthulhu stuff for 5th edition. And actually was, like, an adventure, too. I should have looked at that one for years ago. So, again, it's not like this is the only chance to play Cthulhu in 5e, but this one, I guess, is interesting because it is incorporated into D&D Beyond, and we don't get a lot of, as far as I'm aware, not a lot of third-party stuff in D&D Beyond. Like, there's, like, the Blood Hunter class made famous from Critical Role, and then something like this. Like, most of them are just the wizards themselves putting stuff out, so I think that's notable for that reason. Yeah, that's true. You could just reskin monsters to do psychic damage. I mean, like I said, a lot of monsters, at least that arrived later, also in other books, not necessarily the base monster manual, could fit the bill for sure. Okay, Legends of Greyhawk. Before you get too excited, this is basically just what they're calling their new Adventure League organized play. We're all wondering, after the Dungeon Master's Guide came out last year, the 2024 edition, that it focused so heavily on Greyhawk that, a lot of us were thinking, okay, well, they're going to start doing to Greyhawk what they did with the Forgotten Realms, and maybe we'll go and explore Greyhawk in, for years of adventures and stuff. Well, I don't think that's going to necessarily be the case. In fact, we're getting a Forgotten Realms duo release book that just goes right back into the Forgotten Realms. So, but it looks like Greyhawk will at least be explored in the organized play setting, and they're calling that Legends of Greyhawk. Campaign enters its beta phase as more organizers become involved and share the classic D&D setting through a wave of new adventures. Legends of Greyhawk uses the most recent core rule books as its foundation. All you need is the most recent player's handbook, which now they're not even calling it 2024. They're just calling it the most recent. Fucking come up with a name. Just call it 5.5. I don't know why we can't call it that. Or 5.1. Whatever. God. I'm as frustrated as all of you. I don't like calling it the 2024 edition, but I thought that was the nomenclature we're using, but they're not even doing that. You can review the additional rules to create and advance your character in the Legends of Greyhawk guide, which I do have open a different tab. Creating a character in D&D Beyond, blah, blah, blah. It's never been easier. Adventures across the Flanace. The fuck do you pronounce that? Flanace? Set in the world of Greyhawk. Campaign starts in the 576. Events in the campaign will shape the campaign's future. It will grow and evolve with the choices adventurers make at events worldwide. Adventures are created by a group of premier organizers. Each organizer has been assigned one or more locations for their adventures. So they're really going all the way across the world, it looks like. Baldwin Games, Game Conclave, and the West Coast Adventurers Guild. Party kicks off at Gen Con, which is happening this weekend. I've never been to Gen Con. I should probably go. Honestly, conventions don't excite me ever since COVID, frankly. But if I did go to another convention, a board game tabletop convention is certainly high on my list. But now they're like saying how it's now we're so far enough away removed from the COVID era that like now they're starting to break records again. And I'm like, I just don't know if I want to be around that many people. I like medium-sized conventions. I don't like these like gigantics. 4 new Legends of Greyhawk adventures set in the domain of Greyhawk debut alongside the adventures featured at select conventions earlier this year. Check out D&D at Gen Con 2025 article. That I don't have open. I guess I can check that out. After Gen Con, you can expect several other conventions to feature these and other new Legends of Greyhawk adventures. Each month, we'll publish a campaign update article with additional shows where you'll find the latest adventures from our premier organizers. Currently in a beta at conventions only. If you're an organizer who would like to get Legends of Greyhawk adventures at your convention, head to the D&D customer service portal. Is there any way to just get these from like DM's Guild? Because you could get them from the DM's Guild previously, just so other people could actually run some of these adventures. In fact, I think I used 1 or 2 of those back whenever we did Tomb of Annihilation, because they took place like around Port Nyanzaru, and I think I was using some of that Adventure League content that was just available on the DM's Guild. All right, so let's look at. So what were the tabs? D&D at Gen Con 2025. Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. July 31st to August 3rd. What are we doing? D&D play. Yeah, Legend of Greyhawk. Gen Con debut. Featuring 4 adventures set in and around Greyhawk City. Preview play of adventures and player options for the upcoming Forgotten Realms books. Experience an adventure from one of 5 mini settings featured in Adventures of the Forgotten Realms. Anybody going to Gen Con? Explore one of the Caves of Chaos with the new D&D starter set Heroes of Borderlands. So that's pretty cool. You can get previews of content coming out this fall. I know Stan, who played in Empire of the Ghouls for so long, has been a stalwart patron forever. Was a big convention guy. Running games at conventions, which, boy, that seems so intimidating. All characters start at level 1. Playing at least 3 adventures will get your characters level 3. Faster Purple Worm Kill Kill is a great fucking name for a adventure. All All right, so this just kind of gives you the scheduling. So one thing I had this open, I was skimming through it. This is the Legends of Greyhawk guide. I thought it was interesting because it told you like what kind of treasures you should have and how long it takes you to gain levels, because they're really just completely getting rid of the whole experience thing at this point. Like, if there's one thing that has really died at the altar of 5th edition, it's experience points, which is bizarre because I think about every video game RPG in existence, and experience points is, and like, you know, leveling based on XP is a huge thing. I can't even think of, off the top of my head, a video game RPG that uses some kind of milestone system that is still like a level-based RPG. You know, you have stuff like Legend of Zelda, and it's all like equipment-based. But it's weird to think about, like, and I don't ever want to go. It's so weird. Like, I don't want to go back to doing experience points, even though that's such a ubiquitous like main part, and it's such a fun thing for players to earn as a reward. It's like, oh well, we did this, and now we gain the experience for it. So at least we've done, you know, even if we won't get treasure from it, and like, oh yeah, we get the feeling of like saving people, hooray, but what's it really in it for me mechanically? Experience is what we used for our first couple of campaigns. I believe it was starting with, I think Tomb of Annihilation was the first one we did milestone at. Somebody might be able to remind me of that. But it's just so much easier to take that equation out of it. And I don't even remember reading about experience points in the new edition. And it's funny that even Wizards is like, yeah, we're not really, like, there's no XP. It's just number of adventures. That's it. Like, that's your advancement system. Alignment, that's another good one. Alignment, I feel like, was only just recently has starting to get dropped, though. I feel like experience was dropped like a while ago from everybody. But yeah, people like not really. I do think alignment still exists for monsters. I'd have to go back and double check real quick, but I'm 90% sure they, like, monsters in the monster manual still have alignment as like a quick shorthand, perhaps. But yeah, player characters, I don't remember if you're even need to do alignment. I mean, and certainly, I guess the big thing that got dropped from alignment is all the restrictions that alignment actually imposed in previous editions. Like, it used to be you had to be lawful to be a paladin, or you had to be chaotic to be, I think, a bard or a barbarian. I think you had to be neutral to be a druid. So like multi-classing was a little trickier for those classes. And then there might have been some level or some item requirements, which actually I think still existed in the 2014 edition. I don't know if it does in the new one, where you maybe had to be certain alignments to use certain items or gear or something. So they're definitely getting rid of all the restrictions on alignment. But yeah, even the RP thing, it's like, look, we're just role play your character. So here it says treasure. At the conclusion of the adventure, you are offered a choice of treasure, which may include magic items. You can only possess a certain number of magic items depending on your levels. Again, this is just the organized play, but I thought it was an interesting way for DMs to look at kind of how to, I don't know, balance like their treasure output. And this seems pretty freaking low for like a low magic campaign. This says that a character, for their entire tier 1 experience, which is levels 1 through 4, is you can only have up to 5 common items and either 1 uncommon or rare. Now, I don't have the book in front of me to double check, but I'm pretty sure common are mostly like the bullshit items where it's like the Wand of Smiles or something, and you can like grow flowers or shoot pyrotechnics, or like the Cape of Changing Colors. Or like, not, they don't really have any like mechanical benefits, just kind of RP stuff. I think Potion of Healing and Potion of Climbing might be considered common magic items, so those are probably allowed, but even then, a lot of potions are uncommon. And then 1 uncommon or rare, which basically means you can get 1 like +1 weapon, or like a bag of holding, you know, some kind of utility item. I mean, I guess a rare lets you go up a little bit to something else, but just 1. Basically a tunable item for levels 1 through 4 feels pretty low, in my opinion. Now, granted, I'm kind of on the side of giving players a lot of stuff. And then only once you reach tier 2, which is levels 5 through 10, because I guess 11 is the next big proficiency bonus, you're still limited to 5 common items. Now you can have up to 3 uncommons and then one rare or very rare. So like a ninth or 10th level person like barely just has enough attunable items basically. So I don't know. That seems to me that's like a low, kind of a low-ish magic world, which is similar to what we're doing with the Dragonlance campaign. Actually, that one is a very low magic world. So I know my patron players who are in the Dragonlance campaign, they do not have a whole lot of magic items available at all. And they are level 4, so they should even have probably more than they do right now. That one's exceptionally low magic. So I don't know. It feels a little bit lower. Also, probably better balance for adventurers. Like, I don't know if this is actually the same that's recommended, because I think the player's handbook has recommendations somewhere about like here's how much magic items they should have. I forgot what those were. I need to revisit that. So this might be a little bit undertuned because it's an adventurers league, and it would be just easier to balance for lower level, because some magic items can kind of upset the balance there. And then getting levels, I thought, was the other interesting part, where it's, again, this is what I mentioned about there's no XP. Instead, it's just number of adventures, which is basically number of sessions, right? I think the adventurers league stuff, the whole point of that is designed to play in a single, like, one-shot adventure within that one organized play session, which I guess is 3 or 4 hours. I don't know how long it's supposed to be. If you start at 1, you do one of those, and then you advance to 2. I think that feels right. If you're at level 2, it takes 2 of those to get to 3. That actually feels too long. Usually, players, I think, would only get through like 1. Again, what do you consider an adventure, which I consider, could be a big dungeon crawl or could be multiple smaller sites. I think I would only throw 1 at those before getting my players to 3. And then at level 3, you have to do 3 adventures to level up to 4. I mean, it gets pretty exponential in length pretty quick, where I'm like, gosh, that's a lot. And then thankfully it doesn't get higher than 4, where it says anywhere from basically 4 to 10, it takes 4 adventures to level up. That's, again, are they considering that to be 4 4-hour sessions to level up? Maybe in the later ones that works, but that actually feels a little too long to me. Now, I am someone who's left my players at certain levels for a very long time, but that's something I'm trying to get better about, and I think I did do better about in our most recent campaign as well. Oh yeah, Drift Club's a good one for common. I agree. Players are fairly powerful as it is. That's also true. In 2024, they kind of buffed everybody, and what that means is if you then give those buffed characters magic items, that become even more powerful. That's something that I have personally struggled with in 5th edition, and something that I do have a bit of a problem with, because I do like, especially because we're not doing experience anymore, right? So we no longer reward players with experience. So magic items are a fun thing to reward players with, but 5e seems to want to get away from the loot-based power of players, and instead say look, players are just intrinsically powerful because of their own abilities. And that is a little bit of a bummer to me, as somebody who, again, loves loot and loves playing games with loot. I like to reward my players with loot, so I guess playing Dragonlance is an interesting exercise for me, because that is a very low magic world on purpose. I do like magic. Starting at level 3 makes sense for some tables. Intro 3, 1, and 2 adventures is 3 sessions then. Yeah, I guess so. I'm trying to think, how many did it take us? Because, my Friday games are so short, relatively, that it's hard to compare that to a normal length. My patron games are actually more of a full-length D&D session of 3 hours, even then probably short for some people. But I think we did 2 sessions at level 2, 2 sessions at 3. We just did 1 session at 4. So I'm definitely cooking along faster than that, I think, especially if those are supposed to be even longer than 3-hour sessions. So that's so both of those I have a little bit of problems with, but again, I haven't run an Adventurers League thing, so. And there's some more content in here about Legends of Greyhawk, so I don't know if anybody has any experience with playing or running games at a convention. I do hope that at least these adventures are available, because I do think, they can be fun and usable. just as little mini adventures. That's the kind of stuff that a lot of DMs want. So I don't know if they'll be available on the DMs Guild or not. What else are we talking about? Real quick, I know some of you are fans of Dungeon Crawler Carl. This is a whole series, I believe. I just got the first book earlier this summer. I've not had a chance to dive into it yet, but Renegade Game Studios, who has done a lot of different licensed IP RPGs, are making a Dungeon Crawler Carl RPG. So it is coming full fucking circle because it's obviously based on like D&D, kind of. Renegade Game Studios is excited to announce a new partnership with Matt Dinneman, author of the wildly popular book series Dungeon Crawler Carl. This collaboration will result in a range of tabletop games. First project in development is a full-scale role-playing game. So maybe we'll get, I don't know, board games and stuff, card games? Full-scale role-playing game, allowing fans to immerse themselves in the brutal, hilarious, and over-the-top world of the Crawl. Players will step into the boxers of contestants battling for survival in an ever-shifting dungeon filled with deadly traps, absurd loot, and relentless entertainment. So I've not read this series, but I've heard it's, obviously does a fun send-up of jokes about, like, RPGs and D&D, and it's kind of like, I don't know, like an intergalactic Running Man, like a Mojo from the X-Men verse or something, or Arcade from Marvel. Putting somebody from the real world into these insane situations, and they have to just survive for like ratings, I think, which is also very Mojo. Additional titles also be developed, including board and deck building games. Okay, I just called it. Designed for both solo and cooperative play. So we're getting a whole bunch of games based on this property. Dungeon Crawler Carl is an incredibly imaginative and compelling universe. We're excited to bring it to tabletop gaming, says Scott Gata, president and publisher at Renegade Game Studios. Tinman has created a unique world filled with action, humor, and heart. Everything we look for in a setting that can support rich, engaging gameplay. First game is expected to launch in 2026. So I don't know how that would work as an RPG, because I think part of what the series does is kind of has him like probably a lot of overpowered items and like break the rules of the RPG and like try to break out of his situation. So that would be interesting, I guess. But it's a popular, fun series. Like I said, I haven't read the first book yet. Whenever I do, I will probably do a video about it. I did recently read the Ravenloft Heir of Strahd book, and I did a video about that one. And I did really enjoy that book. That's from Renegade Game Studios, and they've done, what else have they done? Vampire the Masquerade, Transformers, a lot of the Hasbro stuff. They have like G.I. Joe and My Little Pony, I think. So they cover a lot of those properties, which I'm a big Transformers fan, and it was on Roll20 for a hot second. I was like, oh, I want to look at this. And then all of a sudden it got removed from Roll20 and has never come back. So now I'm like, well, crap. Now I don't know if I want to ever run it. It's a bummer. Let's see, what else? Real quick, D&D is good for your brain. This is from Popular Science, by the way. Let's see, this is part of the weirdest things I learned this week. So it's kind of a mini episode. It's a YouTube video by Rachel Feltman. This week episode of the weirdest things I learned this week. I covered a couple of mini facts, one of which is that tabletop role-playing games like D&D seem to be really good for players' mental health. This comes from my other podcast, Science Quickly. You can check out my video on the recent boom in D&D related scientific research featuring DM Brennan Lee Mulligan here, which he's been doing the rounds because I listened to the Adam Conover podcast, Factually, I think is what it's called. And he also had Brennan Lee Mulligan on just a recent episode within the last month. Really good episode. So just wanted to call that out because I think it's always cool to see D&D kind of mentioned by non-nerd publications in a positive way. So that's pretty neat. But there's a video about it, basically an interview with Brennan Lee Mulligan, it sounds like, on the podcast Science Quickly, Rachel Feltman. Fantastical Game World of D&D is coming to the Kennedy Center in DC. This is also something that is not necessarily on the nerddom radar, but should be. This is from the DC Theater Arts official website called Dungeons & Dragons: The 20-Sided Tavern. Interactive gameplay experience for D&D enthusiasts, improvisational theater fans, and everyone in between. Due to its long, no, improv's great. Due to its long form improv format, each show is a roll of the dice and based on the prompts from a new audience every show. So I read this article and I was like, what is going on here? This is some kind of like interactive comedy show, but with D&D, which sounds fascinating. The show is a one-shot based on 5th edition, complete with a dungeon master, tavern keeper, and adventuring party of 3 players. The campaign is entitled The Tomb of Havoc. It's created and written by David Carpenter and Michael Fell. Connor Marks. I don't recognize any of these names. D&D is helpful, not required to have an enjoyable experience. Had a great time with the freeform tomfoolery. Dropout TV streaming service. I'm also not familiar with. So what the hell's going on here? The bulk of the action comes from audience prompts and imaginations of the characters. Prompts are given verbally or through the audience interaction platform built by Gamiotics. Attendees are given a handy sheet as they enter the theater with a QR code and instructions so every person can choose their level of engagement for their experience. Phone usage and video recordings are also encouraged during the performance. That's different. 3 players. Excel their playful banter and chaotic goodness. They receive their assigned characters thanks to the help of the audience. Players use their existing character sheets from previous performances, but their names and backstories are changed based on them. So it's this weird, like, kind of improv. Because normally when you watch a D&D, obviously some of it is already, like, you know, it's live D&D, so you're not fully scripted, but I mean, like, the DM is still scripting an adventure together, and this sounds like that's not even happening, maybe. This sounds like it's almost completely improv from everybody, which does sound extremely chaotic and would need a very specific set of skills from those on the stage to handle. I guess this is actually a report of maybe one of the sessions. Adventure party is ready to embark on the first part of their adventure, visit to the tavern. Will Champion's elvish boy band character used his smolder and lute to charm his way through nearly every encounter. RJ Christian was a magical medic of sorts. And Madeline Murphy was an audience favorite as a brutal, weapon-wielding dwarf who wore the skin of her defeated foe for the remainder of the mission. Okay. Unpredictable nature of a large gaggle of nerds lends itself to an unforgettable evening of laughter and camaraderie. The crowd would chant for their player in a style not unlike the WCW and WWE wrestling matches of yore. I mean, I went to AC Inc. live games at PAX, and there was definitely, like, the green flame and all that. Show is advertised appropriate for ages 8 to 80, but advised there's no way to control the prompts of strangers, particularly when alcohol is served. DM was able to keep the story within the parameters of the game mechanics and within the show's 2-hour and 30-minute runtime. Okay, that's pretty solid. What an interesting idea. I mean, I love the fuck out of D&D live play becoming this, like, big fucking audience thing. Like, that's so cool. And wasn't it Brendan Lee Mulligan that was doing, like, the fucking Madison Square Gardens or something insane? Like, that's so crazy. Large high-definition screens behind the DM where the audience can view a live camera shot of each player's roles, inviting us to the shared triumph of Nat 20, the agony of a critical fail. Video design is whimsical and engaging. Especially love the lighting design. Helped immerse the audience in the world beneath from of the theater. That's cool. Hundreds of lighting and video cues are on standby for whatever improvisational moments may blossom. That would be so challenging. Yeah, because if it's all just unscripted, like, damn. Scenic costume and prop designs are beautifully utilitarian with assorted musical instruments, hats, accessories, and weapons within reach for any live-action roleplay need. For example, the climax of the story occurs when the adventurers encounter their final boss, one that is created by prompts from the audience. Our performance featured a ferocious velociraptor with a costume quickly concocted by the tavern keeper using ram horns and plush green paws. Wow. That's nuts. That is so crazy. I wonder how much something like that costs. I mean, if it's like what the ticket price is. The Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts in Washington, D.C. Learn more about the program visiting kennedyscenter.org. It's called Dungeons & Dragons, the 20-Sided Tavern. Equal parts long-form improv and live-action tabletop with a dash of WrestleMania. Wow. And there's a national tour. Okay, when it comes to a city near you. That's probably more real. Oh, here we go. There's a video. Okay, let's see if there's anything going on here. Oh yeah, y'all are watching it about con games were hit and miss. 10 games. Yeah, the Rime, it was either Rime or Tomb where I had the biggest gap. I thought Tomb was the biggest in terms of leveling up. D&D can harm the brain, especially with terrible players and DMs failing to get players to show up consistently. Oh, yeah, it can definitely cause some stress and anxiety for sure. I mean, that's just people in general, right? Like anytime you gather people together, it can cause stress and anxiety. All right, this is the video of 20-Sided Tavern US tour. All right, we're gonna mute that because I'm not sure if it's allowed or not. Oh wow. Yeah, the props are. There's Jenga. So maybe they're actually. Maybe the reason I haven't heard of them is they're actually like stage actors first, playing D&D, versus D&D trying to be stage, which is probably the right way to go about it. A giant D20. That's really smart. This looks ridiculous. The fact that you could be at a show and have that be like the only kind of show, you know, because of the improv stuff is nuts. Tickets are $40 to $160. Okay, that's not bad. That's like going to see stand up, basically. Summer 2025. So when is it? Let's see. Next stop is DC. Oh, okay, so they're in DC right now. Oh, has it been touring this whole time? I only just now realized. Let's see, tour schedule. Because this just sounds so fun. Okay, maybe it started in DC. So it's only in DC actually through this week. Yeah, through this weekend. It's been there for like 2 weeks. Then it's going to Chicago for about 6 weeks. Then Boston, Philadelphia. We're still all around the East Coast, Northeast. Greensboro, North Carolina, going slightly. Oh, and then we go all the way to San Diego. Man, we're just skipping over everybody. Come on. San Diego in November. Wow, it's only for a couple days. Then we go to LA for a long time. Basically the holidays through Thanksgiving, through New Year's. Indiana. Back to North Carolina. This is 2026. Jeez, okay. Well, folks, there are places between fucking North Carolina and California. Yeah, we sure did. Like, I'm near Dallas. That's a major market. Come on. Come on now. Give us some love. Because that would be a totally fun-ass thing to go to. I would do that and then talk about it. Like, man. Maybe they'll still be touring. But that, so far, it looks like through March of next year, they're basically East Coast and then San Diego and LA. Only Southern California, I guess. Well, that takes the wind out of my sails a little bit. Oh well. All right. Talking about video games now. Oops. Let me click off that. So the D&D Classics Collection on Humble, you can get basically all of the old ass D&D video games. Retro games by Sneg. Not to be confused with the SNES. This is the SNEG, which I looked it up and apparently it's like associated with GOG, like those guys, good old games who are, I don't know what, I guess they just took over these games or something. But there's all of these old games are, which I think they're all available on GOG anyway. But this just gives you a chance to grab them on kind of a pay what you want sale. And also, you know, Humble's associated with charities, so you can always grab these bundles and then donate to charity. I don't know which charity this one is. Okay, Covenant House. Don't know exactly what that charity is. But this one includes... So first of all, you can pay $5 to get 5 items, although one of them is the collection that has multiple games in it, but these are kind of the weaker ones in my opinion. Or you can pay $10 to get 13 items. It says 13 items, but some of these, again, have multiple games within them. For example, the one that's called Forgotten Realms, The Archives Collection 1, which, gotta love titles that have both a colon and a hyphen, includes all 3 of the Eye of the Beholder games, which I have mentioned previously that Eye of the Beholder 3 is one of the very first PC games I ever played. If you look up, there was a bundle. I have a very clear memory of this, and I've mentioned this multiple times, I'm sure, over the years. When we got our first family PC, we went to Best Buy, and I was told I could get 3 games for this PC. This would have been, oh my gosh, 91 or something around there, maybe 92 at the latest, somewhere. I'd have to look up when these things came out. So I was having a chance to get 3, which talk about like you lay awake in bed as a kid thinking about like, oh man, what games? Obviously I didn't know anything about looking up games or anything at the time. This was back when you go to Best Buy and there were like rows and rows of computer games. What a magical fucking time. And the 3 games I chose, one of them was Myst, because Myst was hot shit back then and everybody was getting Myst. One of them was Shadowcaster, which was, unbeknownst to me, a Doom clone, basically. And then the third one, I was very smart. This was like a genie, wishing for more wishes. Was called like, I forget what it's called, like Fantasy Pack or something. Fantasy Collection Pack. And it was a single box that included 3 games in it. And those 3 games were King's Quest VI, amazing fucking game. Might and Magic 5, great game. And Eye of the Beholder 3. So, clever me, as a young-ass kid, got 5 games, but I was supposed to only get 3. And so, Eye of the Beholder 3 ended up being one of the very first PC games I ever played, and one of my very first exposures to Dungeons & Dragons was through that specific video game, having that manual and having it full of like stats and all this crazy stuff, which was very overwhelming for me at that age. I played a little bit of that game, but unfortunately Eye of the Beholder 3 is not exactly the best game of the series. The whole first part is you wandering around a forest with a bunch of ghosts that like fuck you up. So can't say it was my favorite of the pack at the time. But so I have a lot of nostalgia for that though, which is good stuff. So that's just one of them. It includes all 3 of these games. The Forgotten Realms Collection 2. And these are called the Gold Box games, by the way, which were, a lot of them used like this, basically the same engine, where they were kind of first person, like grid based. Well, I guess we can look at the video right here. Let's look at this. Back there. All right, I'm gonna mute it, but the music's great. So yeah, cutscenes were amazing. Yeah, this is definitely the art style. Obviously heavily pixelated. This is maybe 2nd edition. I don't even remember if it was maybe 1st edition. Look at that paper doll inventory, good shit. Yeah, so this is the UI. You had your characters, your 4-person party who was all kind of walking, and then it was a first-person view in the corner. God, I should replay these fucking games. I don't think I ever went back and played the first 2. I did pick them all up on GOG at some point, because you can just get them on sale in there too. I'm waiting until I get to the 3rd game, because then I'll be able to... Yeah. All these cutscenes. Show that stupid forest. No, they didn't even show the Beholder 3. Okay, fine. They showed just the cutscenes. So yeah, that's just one of the collections. And then you've got collection 2, which includes Pool of Radiance. Pool of Darkness, Silver Blades, Savage Frontier. I did play the Forgotten Realms Unlimited Adventures. Also, that was like when you could build your own games, by the way. Yeah, that was really cool. That one actually had a different um, combat system where it was like a tactical. Let's see, did they actually show that? Yeah, these were older games. Some of them were. There we go. That's what I remember. Okay, I played one that did this. It was like this crazy, like it turned into combat, but it was like this top-down battle system that looked like this. I was really young when I played these. Yeah. I don't know if I want to go back to that era of game. That might be a little too tricky. I don't know what Silverbox Classics is, but these are sadly the only like Dragonlance games around are the games that are like this fucking old. In fact, there is one that's just called Krynn series, Champions of Krynn, Death Knights of Krynn, and Dark Queen of Krynn. I never played any of these despite being a... Well, I didn't become a Dragonlance fan until later, I guess. And these would have been already old by then. The Spelljammer game, Forgotten Realms Collection 3, which includes Dungeon Hack, which I believe was similar to... Oh, yeah, it says built using the Eye of the Beholder engine. Yeah, it's like a first-person dungeon crawler. But it uses randomly generated dungeons, which was cool. A roguelike option. That would be a fun one to play, actually. Just do a random run in Dungeon Hack. Yeah. I fucking love the look of these games. Look at that. Look at that fucking grid map. So good. I guess you were just a single person, though, huh? You weren't like a full party. Oh boy, this one looks... Oh dear. See, I think it was a huge problem whenever they started doing early 3D. Like, obviously, games were very excited to do that, but I wasn't a big fan of the... Yeah, this starts looking like the old Might and Magic games. I actually like the kind of pixelated stuff versus this early 3D stuff. Is it possible for me to beat? Yeah. That's how I felt about a lot of those RPGs. Is like I did play a lot. I played a lot of the Might and Magic games back in the day, and it really wasn't until console. It was CRPGs were very challenging for me as a kid, even though I played a bunch of them. There was like a Star Trail game I played, but it was console RPGs, JRPGs that I finally was like, oh, okay, I can do these, like Lunar and Final Fantasy. I guess they called it like 3 back in the day. Now it's 6 or something. So yeah, there's a lot of cool games on here. They're all on GOG, they're all on Steam, but you can get them all for $10 and donate to charity. And then at the same time, there are more games coming out for Dungeons and Dragons from a different era. We're going to call it the early 2000s, I think. That I believe are all available on GOG as well, but they are now coming to Steam. And I believe they're actually going to be remasters. So there's Dragon Shard, Demon Stone, and Temple of Elemental Evil. This is all from, again, I think around the early 2000s era. You know, we had like Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, and Icewind Dale, and Neverwinter Nights, that kind of games. And we also had, you know, back when we had a lot of D&D games, I guess. We had the games that weren't quite as well beloved or remembered. And in fact, the first 2 games aren't even really RPGs. Dragon Shard is like a fucking RTS. You know, there was a whole era where everybody tried to do like Warcraft and Command & Conquer. But it took place in Eberron, which was very unique. And Eberron was brand new at that point, so that was interesting. I think I played like a beta of this. I actually have some memory of playing this game. Maybe a demo or something. Yeah, real-time strategy experience within the mystical world of Eberron. Which is interesting for those 2 things. I don't think there's ever been another like RTS D&D that used the D&D universe. And I don't think there was ever any other video games that used Eberron either. The first D&D real-time strategy experience. I gotta be the only one, I think. To interconnected action RTS war above ground and critical RPG styled battles in dungeons below. I don't remember that at all. Unit development based on, quote, experience points, end quote, allowing players to, quote, level up, end quote, units. Game story by Eberron creator Keith Baker. That's pretty cool. So the remaster is a respectful re-release that quietly modernizes the classic. Modern resolution support, localization-friendly saves and profiles, smoother timers and physics, ASLR compatibility, and other under-the-hood fixes for a cleaner experience on today's PCs. Released in 2005. Okay. So I was right. Early 2000s, we'll call it. So yeah, I guess they're kind of hiding the fact that it's a remaster. I don't know if the GOG version has also been remastered. I assume it has. Demon's Stone I have no experience with whatsoever. This does not seem familiar to me at all, but it's apparently more of a third-person action game. Hack and slash, which there has been a couple of these. But this one I completely missed. 2004. It's called Forgotten. It doesn't have D&D in the title, actually. It's Forgotten Realms Demon's Stone. Is also a polished re-release. Proper widescreen scaling, borderless modes, optimized shadows, controller input. Control a party of 3, a fighter, sorcerer, and rogue, in a quest to right or wrong and shape the future. Switch characters on the fly to exploit each warrior's specialized fighting styles. Maximize each character's attributes. I don't know anything about this. Apparently it was written by R.A. Salvatore and features voice performances by Patrick Stewart and Michael Clark Duncan. Obviously takes place in the Forgotten Realms. Did anybody play this? I have no familiarity with this game whatsoever, even though I was definitely playing video games at the time. So it would have been like peak video game time for me. This would have been college. Although maybe that's why I didn't play it, because it came out in college. Huh. All these published by that SNEG. And then we've got the Temple of Elemental Evil, which is actually listed as the original developer of Troika Games, who... I forgot the name of the guy, but the guy who did like Fallout and I think Planescape back in the day. Founded his own studio. Shit, I need to do this because I'm embarrassed. I don't remember his name. Tim Kaine. That's the name I'm thinking of. Tim Kaine. And I remember I played Arcanum back in the day, which was very much like a Fallout 1 and 2 RPG, but using this really cool like steampunk fantasy world. It was really interesting. I did not play this game, Temple of Elemental Evil. I heard it was kind of a buggy mess. Yeah, released in 2003. So I would have just been playing Neverwinter Nights still. It's had a passionate community around it ever since. Over the years, fans have added a lot to the game and kept it alive in ways we really admire. This version builds on that work, and we're generally thankful to everyone who's helped along the way. So it's just kind of unique in that it's actually the original developers are like re-releasing it, but maybe including all these like fan patches and updates or something. And this one is a traditional like tactical RPG, I believe. I mean, it looks very like, you know, Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 Icewind Dale-ish from the screenshots, where it's like an isometric RPG. I don't know. I never did play it though, so I don't have any experience with this one. It's the Temple of Elemental Evil, which is like a very classic, you know, D&D module. Yeah, classic party-based D&D RPG. 5 controllable characters and 3 followers, multiple story paths. The first game, interesting. Based on the classic Greyhawk module. I thought it was going to be, say, the first one based in Greyhawk, but surely there's been a bunch of them. So yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting. This one, so the other two... again, are kind of like GOG remasters, I guess, that are coming in August. And then Temple of Elemental Evil, which I think is also available on GOG, but maybe the Steam version has more updates or something, is coming in September. So it's a good time to be a nostalgic D&D video game person, I guess, because there's a lot of options out there. For really old games or for medium old games. And they're all good old games. All right, that is going to do it for this week in D&D. Thank you all for joining me. And as a big, of course, thank you to all the patrons for helping to support these live streams. Shouts to Platinum Patrons, Joe, Will, Thomas, Brandon, Genocide, Roleplay, Roll, Christopher, Big Nut, John, Nathan, Andrew, Stephanie, Jason, Buzz, Warden, LC, Tom, the Dogs, Marcus, Nugget, Hugo, Jerry, Say, Shosh, and John. And Gold Patrons, RPG, Papergraphs, Pretty Boy, and Yuma, Does the Lounge, Drome, Nathan, Scott, Rufus, Jerry, Glenn, and Mark. Thank you all very much for your support. See you next time.